Hey everybody, it's Jill, Fiber Floozie Crafts. Today I want to show you how to make this cowl. Now I am calling this cowl my Neapolitan knit cowl because these colors remind me of Neapolitan ice cream. Now, this is made from yarn that I got from Made in America Yarns. And it's called their Flora Fill Super Soft Cotton. And this is what it looks like in the cake. Now this comes in a skein, and my Mr. Fiber caked this up for me. And this one's called the Brown Gallon Gale is the color. And I will link all of this below where you can get the yarn. This is a bulky number 5. It's 97% cotton, 3% nylon. It is 125 yards per, well, it's nearly 100 grams, not quite 100 grams, but it's close. They recommend using a 6.5 millimeter knitting needle or crochet hook. Now this is going to be a free pattern for you guys. I will have it written up and you will be able to purchase, you will be able to download it to start the project. But I really wanted you to see what I made it from and why I'm calling it this. This is not the yarn I'm going to show you it in today on how to do the tutorial, but this is the yarn it was made in. And this is just really, really very, very nice yarn. It is super soft cotton. It really is. And it's being that it's a bulky, it's got a nice, just a nice squish to it. Now, this has got a ribbing at the bottom and a ribbing at the top. And I purposely made this to where the ribbing at the top is not quite as tall as the ribbing at the bottom. Now you can do it the same. You can make this your own. It's just quite all right. This is just to get you started. I just want you to see how I did mine. By doing it a little wider here at the bottom, I feel like it gives you like it sits nicely right onto the shoulders with this little wider of a ribbing. So it's about 10 rows here where it's only about 5 or 6 rows up here. So this is just done in stockinette, which is knit every round. This is done in the round. And then we have some purl rows, a purl garter row in there. Okay, let's get started. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do this using the Lion brand softball yarn. It has a similar put up to the other yarn. It is not as many yards as the other yarn, but it is 100% polyester and it feels very similar, maybe just a slight silkier than that cotton is, but very soft and very squishy. So it's going to have a similar feel to it when it's worked up. And I have it in 2 colors, this one which is the Rapids, and then I have it in this one which is Hurricanes. Okay, now I already had some of my yarn pulled out because I'd already started this project and I took it out. I started on a live to show everybody, and then I decided that I would do a tutorial for it. So I have part of mine pulled out. But the way that, okay, so that's the yarn. And you should be able to do this with 2 of these just these 2 colors. So about 200 yards of a number 5. And I'm doing this with a 9, a US 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter, I believe. Yes, 5.5 millimeter US 9. And a 24-inch cord on this. And I've marked it right here where I had my knot, my first loop. But how I figure out how much to use is I have a little tail, and then I wind it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 20. Then if you take that and you bring it in half over to here and fold it, that's 40. Pinch that there and do it here. That's 80 plus a little bit more. And we are casting on 92 stitches. So that gives you a good idea of how to know how much yarn to pull out and where to put your first loop, so that you'll know how much yarn to use. Now this one is not a beginner knitter video. However, I will show you briefly how to cast on. And then you can refer to my other video on how to cast on. But I will show you briefly how to do that. So you have your loop. Okay, now you're gonna, here's your working yarn, here's your tail. You put your finger right between those 2 yarns right here. Then I'm gonna grab those 2 down here with these 2 fingers. Put my thumb here. Then I'm going to bring this needle down. Bring this needle over here and pick this yarn up from this side of my thumb. Touch the needle to my finger over here. Go under that yarn. Now we're going to bring that needle between those 2 yarns on the thumb, so where we pick up that, we scoop that stitch up. Now we're going to let go with the thumb and come over here and bring that down to tighten, and don't tighten it very much. Okay, I'll show you this one more time and then we're going to move on. This side, over to this side, scoop that up. Bring it in between those 2, scoop up that stitch, let go with the thumb, and tighten it up. Okay, that is your cast on, and that's called the long tail cast on. Now you want to cast on 92 stitches, and then we'll meet back. Now that we have our 92 stitches cast on, we are going to join our ring together. Okay, now I've got my yarn set up as if I would knit it. So I would knit with this needle. So I've got this needle facing this way. Here is my tail. Here is my working yarn. Set that up there. Now you're going to need a stitch marker, because we're going to mark this where we joined it. We're going to put a stitch marker to mark the beginning of our round. Now in order to make this right, we need to make sure that it's not twisted. So we're going to lay that down on the flat surface, and I always turn all of my stitches on the bottom. This is the top right here at the top of the needle. This is the bottom. And make sure the bottom ones are all turned inward and not twisted. You don't want it to look like that when you join it, you know, and be twisted over, because then it's going to stay twisted. So you got to make sure everything is down and flat, and it's all going the same direction. Then we're going to pick it up, and I'm going to scooch these towards the needle, towards the other needle, so they're both closer to the end. Tail goes down there, out of my way. Right now, I'm going to take my right needle and I'm going to insert it as if to knit, which means to the left side, backward. And I'm going to slip that off of this needle and put it onto this needle. Now I'm going to pick up the stitch that was at the end with the left needle, going in from the left and keeping the needle on the front of this needle. Pick that up a little bit, push this a little bit towards it with your finger, and you will pass it over that stitch and scoop that other stitch up that way, but do not take it off. Virtually you are splitting them like that, and you've just switched sides. That's all you've done. Now you're going to take your stitch marker and put it right between them, and then immediately you're going to come back over here and you are going to knit this first stitch. Now we're going to go right into our ribbing, which is going to be knit 2, and then we're going to purl 2. So yarn forward and from the right side to the left side. Again, I do have some videos for this. Bring your yarn around to the back and take it off. Now we'll knit another one, taking it off. So now we have knit 2, purl 2, and you're going to do that all the way around. So you are going to end up, now you can increase or decrease this, but here's the thing, you need to end up with, do that by 4s, because you need to end with 2 purls, because you started with 2 knits. You don't want to end with 2 knits and start with 2 knits, because that would be a space. It would be like a bigger space in between. That's just what I'm telling you about increasing or decreasing with this pattern. Just wanted you to keep that in mind. So increase it or decrease it by 4 stitches. Okay, so knit 2, purl 2, all the way around, ending, you'll end with 2 purl stitches. Make sure you do, that you end with 2 purl stitches. If you didn't, then you need to go backward and see where you messed up. Okay, I'll meet you around to the other side. Okay, we are back around. We've done our first row. I have 2 left here, and this is what I wanted to show you. Again, that I'm ending with purls, because see, here's our purls, here's our knits. Now I've got these last 2 before my stitch marker right here. Go in here, do our last 2, and those are purls. Now I'm going to move my stitch marker over. My yarn will go back, and I will go right into those 2 again and repeat. And I will do the knits, and then where there's purls, I will do the purls. Okay, And that's what will make our ribbing. So 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. So knit the knits and purl the purls. Okay, everyone, we are back with our sample, and I only did 8 rows of the ribbing, and that is plenty. So I'm right here at my start. Here is my stitch marker. And for this next row, after you've done your 8 rows of ribbing, now you are going to knit the entire row. So knit every stitch all the way around. So when you get to the purl stitches, you just knit them. So you can just knit every stitch all the way around. So this would be row number 9. And I'll meet you back when we get back over here. Now that you have knit one complete row, I'm going to add a second color. So I'm going to add this other color, which is Rapids. This one is Hurricane. This one is Rapids. Now my previous sample, the one that you saw in the beginning picture, this is where we started right here. This is the bottom and this is the top because it's the shorter. And of course you can see that we did not change colors with this one. So we're changing colors right here. So we've done our first row. Now we're changing colors. Just want to show you where we were at on our sample. Leave myself a little bit of tail, fold it over, put my needle in, and then put my yarn on and knit the stitch. And now I'm going to work 4 rows in this color, knitting every stitch. And as you can see, we're not showing those purls anymore. Now we're going to start seeing our stockinette show up. You're going to leave your yarn attached, this first yarn attached, okay? And we're going to carry that yarn up until we use it, the same way we would do if it were on the edge of our work. And when we get back around to here, I'm going to show you how we do that, how we carry it with us until we're ready to use it. And we will do the same thing with the second color. We will drop the second color, begin working with the first color, and then we will carry the second color up until we're ready to use it. And I'll show you how to do that when we get there. Okay, we are back. Whoops, lost my stitch marker. Transfer that stitch marker over to the right hand needle. Now I'm going to show you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take, this is the yarn we're working with right here. We're going to take that other yarn that has been hanging out until we got back. Move it over and back again over the top of this thread, over the top of that yarn. So now you have moved it and switched them to where this yarn's over here. Now you're going to continue on using this yarn. So let me show you that again. So this has been hanging out over here. Okay, you're going to take it and put it under that one. Now put it over that one. Bring these yarns up close. Now you're going to pick up the yarn that you've been working with, this one we just added, and see how that's crossed over the top. And you're going to continue on with this, and that's going to carry this one up. Now you can go ahead and cut it and tuck it in if you'd rather, but you're really not going to, since you only have like 4 rows or 6 rows, you're really not going to see a whole lot of line on the inside, but you can cut it if you like. But that is how you carry it. So you want to kind of pull that in a little bit there. And then you just start knitting. And I sometimes I will do it like that and hold it there. And knit. And then I will pull it tight and knit another one. And then I grab this needle, kind of tighten everything up. Okay? And you will not see that other yarn is being held. And we just continue on. Okay, so this will be row 2 of this new color. And we're going to do a total of 4 rows of the new color. And then I'll show you what we're going to do next. And I'll meet you back. Okay, now that we have done our 4 rows, we're going to work one of these garter ridges. This raised ridge right here. I'm going to show you how to work that. Now so I can show you how it looks, we've switched over our stitch marker. Now I'm going to take my green yarn, my darker yarn, and pass it under so that this lighter yarn is over the top. And I pick up this darker yarn and work with it, and that way I'm going to carry the lighter yarn up. What we're going to do, now you're going to bring that yarn forward and we're going to purl this row. So we're going to purl every stitch all the way around. Okay, we're coming up to the end of this row, this purl row. My last couple of stitches. Now I'm going to transfer my stitch marker over. Now I'm going to take that yarn and put it to the back. And here's where you make your decision on how you want to proceed. Are you going to go forward with the darker color? Or are you going to go forward with the lighter color? I'm going to show you with the lighter color so you can see it change back again. And so here's my yarn that I'm using, my darker color. And there's my lighter color there. So I'm going to take this darker color and put it over here so that it crosses that one. Bring my lighter one over. And that way when I go to use the lighter one, it will cross the two so that they are cinched and carrying it up. Now I'm going to start with that lighter color. I'm going to pull that tight and begin. And you just knit now. Now I'm just going to do a few stitches to show you what this looks like so you can see that ridge. My plan was to go ahead and use the darker color and move forward a few and then switch to the lighter color. But I wanted to do that so that you can see what this ridge looks like. It's going to be hard to see when I use the darker color with it. Okay, now I'm going to take that out and go back and use the darker one. But you just decide how you want to do your rows. You could do your rows when you do the one color. You could do this entire cowl in one color. You just do all these same steps. You just never change colors. You could do it in 2 or 3 colors. You just make it your own and do however you want to do it with whatever colors you want to do it with. Okay, now since I'm going to use the darker color, there's the lighter one. So I need to put this lighter one over here so that it passes over the darker one, because I'm going to use it and that'll trap the lighter one. My stitch marker's there, and again I'm just going to knit. I've got a strand trapped there. It's one of those that wraps around it. Okay, now I'm just going to begin knitting. And I'm going to do about 4 to 5. You can, and that's another thing, is that you can make your ridges as far apart or as close together as you want to make them. My original, I guess you can see it pretty good. The original has a total of 5 ridges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was an even number to me. I didn't want only 3. I didn't want it to look even, like 4. But you can do however many you want. So you are in control of how you make your cowl. You will do the ridges however far apart you want. You could also do this and do not do any purl rows. You could just continue in stockinette if you wish to do that. Now, my original is approximately 26 inches or 70 centimeters around, because it's round. And it is about 8 inches deep. And I tell you that to give you an idea on how much yarn you're going to be using. So 8 inches or 20 centimeters deep. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go on with mine and get it to closer to my 8 inches. And I'm going to leave it where I have about an inch left. So I'll do 7 inches, and then when I get to that last inch, then we'll begin doing our ribbing at the top. That is 3 centimeters left if you were doing centimeters. this part here. So go ahead with yours. Make your ridges. You'll stop. You'll do a purl row, and then you'll stop and do a knit row. And you'll just go back and forth, and you'll do however many. I did pretty close to the same amount of about 6 rows in between each of these ridges. Let's see if we count these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. 7. So it looks like 7 in between the ridges, in between the purl ridge. Okay, I hope that's easy to if it's not, you may have to play this back a couple times until you understand it, and that's the nature of a tutorial. So, but I hope that I have made this clear, and I'll see you guys when we are up there and we're ready to start our rib again. Have fun. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, we are back around. I've done my last garter row, and then I've done another, I've added on my other color again, and I've done a row of knit, and I'm down to the last stitch right here before my stitch marker. Now I'm going to move my stitch marker, and now I'm going to begin. That stretchy right there, that's just because I cut that other yarn because I'm not going to be using it. I'm done with it. I'm going to do my ribbing in this color, and I decided to go ahead and start my ribbing. So I'm going to knit 2, and now I'm going to purl 2, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And we are going to do 5 rounds of our ribbing. So this would be my first one. When I get it back around, I'll do 4 more, and then we'll be back and we'll do the cast off. I'll see you guys back. All right. I have my 5 rows of ribbing, and I'm right here to my stitch marker, and I'm going to go ahead and take that off now because we're not going to need it. And we are going to cast off, and this is how we're going to do this. We're going to cast off in pattern, and this is how that's done. You're going to knit these first 2 stitches because they are knit. Now we're going to take that first one and pass it over the second one. Now we have purls. So bring your yarn forward as if to purl. Purl that stitch. Now you're going to come back here behind that other stitch and bring it over this one. And now we're going to do that again. Purl it. Come back here, grab that and bring it back over. Now we're back to knit stitches. Put the yarn in the back. We're going to knit. We're going to pass that stitch over across the front. Knit and pass it across the top from the front. Now we bring the yarn to the front, and we're going to purl Come back here. Grab that and bring it over the top. One more time. Dropped it. Tighten that up a little bit. And now you can see how it's looking across the top. Okay, continue to cast off in pattern until we get all the way back over here, and I'll meet you guys back over there. We are back to where we started. I have cast all of my stitches off of my needle. I am here at where I did my last stitch. I cut that yarn and now I'm going to pull it through. Now there's always a little bit of a jog right here. It does not bother me to have that little jog because I'm going to thread my needle, and these are my favorite kind, these and the bent tip. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pass it over here. Let's see, I'm going to travel over with this one like that, and then pass it from the outside to the inside like that, and you can't tell that there's any jog at all. Now I'm going to bury it on the inside. And the great thing about these type of darning needles is that you can go through part of the stitch, so just a few threads, which helps bury that a little bit better. And I find that it passes under these stitches a lot easier than some of them do. Okay, now I still have to weave in all of those other ends, but here is our cowl. And let me grab the tape measure. And yes, we are at 26 inches around. And we're at 9 inches across. So mine grew just a little more than I had intended, but it's okay. Usually I go to 7, but 1, 2, 3, 4. I did an extra, which I had not planned to do, but you know, it's very organic when you're doing one which doesn't have as many rules to it. Patterns that don't have as many rules, where you can mix it up a little bit, and I like it. I think it turned out wonderful. It is compared to my other one, very similar in size. I'd say it's not quite as wide, just barely a little less wide over here, but it's and it's a little taller. But I think that the softball yarn's just a slight bit bulkier than this other cotton. I really hope you guys enjoyed making this. If you have any questions, be sure and leave me a comment below, or you can also email me at fiberflooziecrafts@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy making this, and y'all have a wonderful day and have fun today. Bye everyone.